Using living books as your spine for your children's education is one of the core parts of the Charlotte Mason philosophy. This is definitely one of the things that I read about and loved about Charlotte Mason and totally encouraged me and wanted me to use her method. So today in this video, let's talk about what Miss Mason talks about and teaches about living books. Then let's talk about how I have used it in my homeschool, and then maybe give you some encouragement of how you can use this in your homeschool today. Welcome to Joyful Noise Learning. Hey guys, my name is Ashley and I've been homeschooling my 3 kids, ages 10, 8, and 6 for the last 8 years. And I am passionate about homeschooling. I'm passionate about teaching others about it and finding the joy among the noise and chaos in life. So if you want to hear more about that, please consider sticking around. We also talk about affordable homeschooling hacks, biblically based resources, and Charlotte Mason inspired homeschool. And that's what we're talking about today. Woohoo, you excited? Okay, so living books is a phrase that is coined by the Charlotte Mason community. You've probably heard it. It's just kind of common and popular these days. But I think it's a great way to describe what Charlotte Mason was talking about when it comes to picking good books in literature for our kids. There's a whole lot behind this. Let me start. Some of the things that Charlotte Mason says about the living books is this. So much for the right books. The right use of them is another matter. The children must enjoy the book. The ideas it holds must each make that sudden delightful impact upon their minds, must cause that intellectual stir which mark the inception of an idea. One of the first things about living books is they're not books that you're reading just to understand a fact. Because, I can read, the sky is blue, and that's a nice fact there. Or, Abraham Lincoln was born in 1856. That's a great fact there. I can't think of another fact that's kind of boring. What's the fun in that? I know those are facts that we can learn and know, but the point Charlotte Mason was trying to make is it's not just about the knowledge of the facts, but it's about the ideas. And are kids pulling ideas from the author of the books that they're reading? Or are they even inspired to have their own ideas and to think and to create and to read critically, I guess is the term we use in the English teaching realm. But the ideas is what it's all about. And that gets me kind of excited, I guess. A little more excited than just answering, some bubbles on a test, knowing about certain little facts here and there. Another thing Charlotte Mason says, to introduce children to literature is to install them in a very rich and glorious kingdom, to bring a continual holiday to their doors, to lay before them a feast exquisitely served. But they must learn to know literature by being familiar with it from the very first. A child's interaction must always be with good books, the best that we can find. So another phrase that wasn't in that quote, but she talks about Twaddle, and that's books that are just written and dumbed down for the kids' sake.
Jane played with Dan. Dan and Jane had a good time. Jan kicks the ball to Dan. Good job, Dan.
That doesn't inspire anybody. That doesn't inspire anyone to do anything. So she's talking about picking good books, giving them good literature, something that excites them. And usually the kids who don't love to read haven't found a good book yet. And when I was an English teacher in middle school, that was one of my biggest challenges. Some kids got to 8th grade and they've been shoved all these early learning readers their whole life. Their reading wasn't exciting. There wasn't adventure. There wasn't ideas. There wasn't imagination. There wasn't anything. These plain, leveled readers. I'm digressing. I'm going off on a tangent here. So let's come back. But then when I was teaching the kids, you can find good books, find things that you're interested in, and go find some books about that. But we know that in our homeschools, we have the opportunity to give our kids that feast, to lay that feast exquisitely set before them. That's a good word I need to use in my daily language more often. It doesn't mean we only read classic old literature. It doesn't mean we only read, books written about Moby Dick. It's not that. There's good literature in any genre. There's good literature in any time period. We can even read stuff that's from today. One of our family's new favorite authors is Andrew Peterson, and he's only been publishing in the last 5 years. So that's definitely not old and classic at all, but it's good literature that brings ideas to mind and imagination and adventure and all that stuff. All right, so that's my intro there. After my intro, you might be asking, okay, how do I start with this? How do I get started with living books? Where do I find living books? Do I just type in living books on the computer and then boom, it comes up on Google and I get my living books book list? It doesn't exactly work like that. You could try. So here's how I started. Back when I started in homeschool, I read For the Children's Sake by Susan Schaefer Macaulay. Oh, I said it right the first time. I read that. Go read it now. Seriously, turn off the video, go order that book at your library or on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below so it's easy to find. Go read that book if you haven't yet. Just do it. Okay, now come back when you're done. Or after you're done ordering it. Don't go read it now, but order it and then come back to the video. Okay, and this is where I heard about the living books versus the Twaddle and all that stuff. And what really was like, yes, it just resonated with me. So what I started with, I was looking for a curriculum that matched this philosophy. It was based in living books. And I was really struggling to find some. That back, 8 years ago, there wasn't that many. There's more now, a lot more available now. But I was struggling to find some that I felt were gonna fit what I wanted. I didn't do well with Ambleside Online. That was one that was around. And now that I'm thinking about it, there were some that were around because I can name them now. My Father's World, Beautiful Feet Books, Simply Charlotte Mason, and Ambleside. Those are probably some of the top 4 living books curriculum. Sunlight, that was the other one. Sunlight is another one as well, but for some reason I wasn't doing those. I really should have done My Father's World or Beautiful Feet books from the beginning. I should have just done it, but for some reason I was scared to do a box curriculum. So I just did my own, basically. But I couldn't afford or didn't want to buy their whole curriculum. There was a lot of money to put into something where I could just get the books for free at the library. So I kind of cheated, don't tell them. I looked at their book list and I saw what books are they reading in Sunlight version A. And I went and got those books and we read them. And that's how I did it. And then I did the same with Beautiful Feet books the following year. And another one that came up that I did use as well a couple years later was Playful Pioneers by Peaceful Press. That is a really, really good one too. So there's a lot of good ones now, but I think I didn't have a hard time finding these curriculums. I had a hard time deciding on one was my problem. So if you have that same problem, just pick one, go with it, and you're not gonna miss out on anything because they're all really good. Just pick one and go with that one. Don't worry about trying to pick from all of them. That was my bad. So another thing I did, kind of going along with that, was if you don't wanna buy the box curriculum, you can do a unit study style. And this is so fun. It's so fun. You pick a topic or a time period. I've talked about this in some other videos I'll put up on the screen. But you pick a topic or a time period if it's history, topic if it's like science or something else, and then you get books on that topic. And with that, you totally can just go to your library, type in that topic, and just start finding books. And there's some great book lists online that you can find, like the ones I mentioned before, or Read Aloud Revival has some great ones. Playful Pioneers, she has some great book lists as well. Jennifer Pepito is her name. Follow her on Instagram, she's got some good stuff. Also, a newer one is Heritage Mom blog. She's incredible. So good. I'm gonna start using her book list now, actually. So Heritage Mom blog, you wanna check her out for some awesome other countries and other cultures and diversity type books too. But anyway, okay, back to where I was. So we did unit style study-ish. So we picked a topic my kids were interested in. We went to the library, got books on these topics, and we had a blast. So some of the topics we did when my kids were little, birds was the first one. Oh, we did that forever. My daughter loved that one. We read so many books on birds. We drew so many birds. We made so many bird crafts. We made so many bird things. We went out and looked at birds, learned how to name and recognize birds. Butterflies was another fun one. We actually got caterpillars and we watched them grow and change. We did activities with this, but we read lots of books on these topics as well. And it was a lot of fun. And then we just read and talked about what we were reading. And there was lots and lots of reading aloud. And this was so fun, guys. I miss this time. And we still have a similar atmosphere in our home now. There wasn't a lot of workbooks. It wasn't a lot of busy work. It was just reading together and talking about what we read. And again, it wasn't all nonfiction stuff. We read some fiction too. Then you can go watch some of my older videos, figure it out. Mr. Popper's Penguins, Mouse and the Motorcycle. Oh, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, that was a fun one. I don't remember that one though. I'll have to read that one again. So, okay, so that was what I did then. What are living books? Like, again, it's books that make you think about ideas. They're books that have imagination and creativity in them and not just rote facts or just kind of dumbed down things that like are trying to teach you a moral lesson. Not really into those books, just FYI, yeah. So what do I do today? As the kids have gotten older and now that they can read on their own, it's pretty much the same thing. They're just able to read it to themselves now. And I don't do all of the reading to them anymore. I still do the reading with my youngest, who's still learning to read. He's really close, he's getting there. He can read, just not the bigger books, but my oldest has her book list and that she just has to read through her books a little bit each day. And that's what the main thing that she does. Last year I used a hodgepodge of curriculums and book lists and all. And there was one curriculum we used that claimed to be using living books, but frankly, it was more of just a workbook based and was lacking in the living books area and was definitely more busy work style. So I knew that I could just pick my own. I could go back to that, picking my own books and piecing it all together. But I was just tired and just needed a break this year and needed a curriculum that just told me what to read when. Normally I'm not that kind of person, but this year I am. And maybe you are too. Maybe you need someone to say, what do you read when? And I really liked A Gentle Feast because it told me what to read when, and it matched the kids in their each in their grade level of reading books, and they're all in the same kind of time period and topics and stuff like that. So it's kind of picked out for me this year, and we've been really, really enjoying it. So for about an hour a day, my kids are reading on their own, the books that either the curriculum assigned to them or books that they choose that go along with what we're doing. And then for about 30 minutes a day, either at bedtime, lunchtime, or in the cars while we're driving around listening to audiobooks, I will read to them or we'll listen to an audiobook altogether. Or their dad will read to them too at bedtime, a book that we're reading. So some of these books, yes, might be older and more classic and come from a Charlotte Mason like book list, but we do enjoy a lot of modern literature as well. Like I said before, it doesn't have to be an old classic. Like I said, we're enjoying Andrew Peterson, who's a very modern author. We also have been enjoying C.S. Lewis and even some J.R.R. Tolkien. We're finally getting into The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings books. I know those are fantasy genre, but they're still living books with great ideas, great metaphors, and great rich literature. All right, how can you do this in your homeschool today? I gotta say this though, guys, doing living books for your homeschool is the most affordable way to do homeschool. That is, if you don't purchase all the books yourself. You can if you want. I know some people who use Book Outlet or thrift books and purchase a lot of their books, but you can get a lot at the library, and that is mostly free unless you don't get fines, as long as you don't get fines. So living books is the most affordable way you can do homeschool because you don't need a curriculum. You could do it yourself, but again, there's great curriculums out there if you need someone to tell you what to read when. No shame in that. Another tip I want to give you is find books that you want to read, because if you're excited about reading, they're going to get excited about it. And I've heard a lot of this from Sarah Mackenzie at Read Aloud Revival, but it's so true, so true. You don't have to stick to just one type of book. You can branch out a little bit, expand your horizons and the kids' horizons as well, and just read what you all want to read. So I'm gonna list at the very end, just to close this out, if you need some help in finding good book lists or good curriculums that do living books, then I'm gonna list these here on this part of the video. Because it is nice to have someone tell you what to read when, just in certain seasons of your life, or again, sometimes we just need that. So living book curriculums, my best suggestions are Ambleside Online, Sunlight, My Father's World, Simply Charlotte Mason, 5 in a Row, ooh, that's a really good one. Cottage Press, really good. I wish I would have used them. They would have been good. Truth Quest, I just recently heard about from my friends. And for us, what we've landed on this year is A Gentle Feast. Charlotte Mason Simple Studies, she's got some great units with living books as well. And if you want a Spanish curriculum, Charlotte Mason Simple Spanish. Those are the ones we use personally. All right, that was it. That was how you do living books. I really hope I explained it okay. If I didn't, let me know in the comments. Let me know any questions you have, if there's any other things I can help you with. What are your favorite living books, or who are your favorite living books authors? Do you guys like the classics, or do you guys like some more modern stuff? I'm always up for newer suggestions, so let me know those in the comments as well. And if you don't know what your homeschooling style is yet, I made a quiz for you with some of the main types of homeschooling styles. You can take that quiz below, even just for fun. Maybe you do know what you are, but I think quizzes are fun just to do. So you can check that in the description below and find out what your homeschooling style is. Check out more of my Charlotte Mason Basics for Today videos here in the playlist. Put it on the screen somewhere. Go find his joy among the noise, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.